Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us today. We are in our first and very important session today. We are interviewing one inspiring leader that joined me today to talk about her initiative, her startup, what inspires her, and what drives her to get up every day to make the world better. Better for citizens, the younger citizens, and also better for them as digital citizens. Um, Today I'm joined with Hidayet El Ayadi, the CEO of Sghartoon and the co-founder of this startup. We, but we will dive slowly by asking her questions to know about her leadership style, about her digital word and the word of Sghartoon, the startup, as well as who Hidayet is. And so let me begin with thanking you first and foremost for the work that you're doing. Um, and I'll be very happy to have people around here listening and watching us um, to be inspired, let's say, like I was inspired when I first talked to you and I read about you. Um, so, what inspired you to start the company and why exactly Sghartoon? It's very intriguing to know.
First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me, for being so interested in our company and my profile. And to answer your question, actually, what inspired me was a personal story, actually. As you know, Sghartoon is a company that works and aims to help children that have learning difficulties. We're talking about dyslexia, ADHD, and much more. Um, what were what inspired me actually was my sister. She has three learning difficulties, and even though she's only 3 years old, younger than me, I've seen the suffering that she had to go through, and my mom had to go through with the social image that a child with learning difficulty has, with the problems that they are seeing in the educational system. So in 2016, let's say, in order to have my engineering diploma, I had to create a project, a tech project. And it was like a joke that came from my mom. She said, if you'd done something to help your sister, that would be very good. And it all started like that.
Wow. Moms know it. They do know it.
Yeah.
So it's really inspiring. And I always think that the successful work initiatives, community led initiatives, or startups, they're always driven by a huge passion and desire to make things better for certain people. And that's our motto actually in digital citizenship. We always talk about how we are trying to bring solutions to everyday life, our everyday life struggle in the digital space. How can we bring solutions to that? And we're so grateful for initiatives like yours. Um, and so, if you tell us a little bit more about how it works exactly, it addresses a very eminent problem. Sorry, the problem of children now. I would say back in the days we were not really taking care of that, at least in Tunisia, not paying much attention to this. But right now we see that there is a huge attention to problems like that. So, what are you trying to solve through Zghartoun exactly?
Well, actually, like you said, it's a huge problem, and it's true that in the previous years we didn't pay very important attention to this problem, because for us, any child that didn't have a great um, final result in their education is just not meant to be educated. At least that's the common word that we would say in a lot of countries actually. And I've traveled a lot and I've seen a lot. I've pitched the project in a lot of places, and no matter what context you are in, it's always the same problem. Either the parent doesn't have the information to know when his child has learning difficulties, or he doesn't have an idea to where to go, or who is the expert they need to see. And a lot of let's say unethical work has been done. So what we're trying to do actually is to help detect these kids at a really young age, to forward the parents to the nearest therapist, and to actually digitalize the full work that happens between the parents, the therapists, the schools, and the governments, to be able to have data. These data are going to help us understand the presence of these learning difficulties, because it depends on the language spoken in a country, and it depends of the culture. Different learning difficulties exist. I give you examples. In our regions, and especially in Europe that speaks French, the most common learning difficulty is dyslexia, simply because the language spoken is very complicated. We have like E's with different symbols on them, and we have different combinations of letters that do different combinations of sounds. And for a child that has dyslexia, that is very different and very difficult to understand. On the other side, countries like the US, Canada, and English speaking countries, you found ADHD much present than dyslexia, simply because these children have a simple language, but due to a lot of reasons that exist, it's ADHD that exists the most. And these are statistics that you can look up in the World Health Organization. So what we're trying to do is Sghartoon offers a mobile application that is free for the parents, that offers a series of games. Depending on the age of the child, we work on children age 5 to 12. Simply, the parent is going to ask his child to play a series of games that we might see as really simple. In fact, these are tests done by experts, and the application is going to instantly give the parent an alert if the child presents signs of learning difficulties. Once the test is done, the application is going to recommend the list of the nearest therapist. We also offer a platform for the therapist, speech therapy, psychologist, and much more. This platform allows them to do online video games with the children as part of the sessions, give them exercises to at home, monitor their progress, work together with other therapists, and much more. We also offer platforms for the schools to allow them to detect the children at the beginning of the school year, and have this direct and forward communication with the therapist, depending on the type of disability that the child has. The teacher must have the abilities to understand that and to make sure that the child is going to understand the lesson no matter the learning difficulty that he has. Which brings us to our last service, which is workshops. We offer workshops for teachers to help them understand what is a learning difficulty, how to cope with it in classroom, how to prepare their school lessons, etc., etc. And we have workshops for parents actually, to help them understand that having a child with learning difficulties does not mean that you have a child with a huge problem. It means that you might be having the next Einstein, the next IKEA founder, the next Jeff Bezos. These are people that has learning difficulties. And fun fact, statistics have shown that 35% of self-made billionaires are children with learning difficulties.
Wow, that data. When you said the word data, my eyes went like this. Wow. If you're collecting data, that's important because
Yeah.
let me tell you, we struggle with every single problem in Tunisia because of the lack of data.
Yes.
It's impressive to know that people are working towards bridging that gap. It's very important. Um, but this, I mean, you said a lot of good things. I don't know where to start. By following, um, let's say the data. When you talk about the data, do you store it like, do you have a secure place where you store it? Because we're talking about really a very vulnerable and sensitive community, the children. And so we want to make sure that their data is safe. Do you do screening of the therapists, for example, before you work with, or any third party? How is it working in that regard?
Okay, so there's different types. First, we never ever take informations about a child. That's never gonna happen. What we take, actually, what we ask the parents to give us is the name of the parent, the phone number of the parent, and the email of the parent. What we have as data actually is that we have some figure of a child that is aged 5 years old, for example, and he has answered XYZ to a test that is testing him for X and Y and Z. And he scored these numbers. And then the therapists are going to do the full checkup and like examine the child to know what is the learning difficulty that he has. And he's going to write down this child has dyslexia, this child has ADHD. So the data that we have is that for each child that scored X, Y, and Z, he has a 99% probability to have ADHD. Okay, this is the first type of data that we have. Second type of data that we have is the number of learning difficulties or types of learning difficulties that we have by country in which we operate. So, for example, not yet, but soon enough, we're going to be having the information about Tunisia has 50% dyslexia, 20% ADHD, and 12% language problems. We operate in Saudi Arabia, we operate in France, so we can know the learning difficulty that is most probably present in that country so that we can offer that information to the ministries to understand how to adapt the learning difficulties. And then answering your question about the therapist, of course, we do a background check on each and every therapist that we have. We do not accept any therapist. Actually, it's word of mouth. It's by reference. Our therapist reference us to other therapists, and we ask for official documents. We do a thorough background check, manually done. We don't use any digital stuff so that we're not fooled. And specifically in our countries, we ask a lot around that therapist before accepting him. We would rather have 10 therapists, but they would be the best that we have, than have 1,000 and have a lot of problems.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you, and I'm so glad that you addressed this very carefully. In the US, you mentioned the US and Canada. I think from observation, they might have ADHD due to food, like substances, chemicals in food. That's one of the things. I've been noticing those things around, and also. You mentioned something very important. You take carefully the safety of children and not collecting data about them. That's very important. Right now, I know there was a debate, not right now, but um, in the recent year and a half, there was a debate about the Child Act in the US and how they're trying basically to ask for documentation for everybody browsing the web, basically, to make sure that they do not collect data on children. It's debatable, the reasons behind the Child Act, but we need to address those things, absolutely. You mentioned something that is very important as well. You're doing the due diligence on a therapist manually. And so You are a technology company, basically. Where
Yeah.
does the technology play a role here? Um, if you're doing it manually, I know the data, that's a big part, but do you
Yeah.
rely, for example, on the very hot question of these days, the AI? Um, any AI tool that would help you with that?
Yeah. We are a tech company, so all of our products are tech. We have heavy tech working, not yet AI. I'm not very fond of AI yet, but we chose to do manual background check on our therapist because, as you said, we don't have that information in Tunis. We don't have like somewhere, for example, the Ministry of Health or something like that, that has all the informations about these therapists. We don't have a law that insists that these therapists only do a session with X price, or they can only charge a parent for X amount of money for the first session. The ecosystem isn't regulated, so we cannot put the health of these kids or an information as important as telling a parent that your child has a learning difficulty between the hands of some jibber jagger doing something something.
I agree,
So yeah,
100%.
so we chose to do that manually due to the presence or the issue that we have. On the other side, in France, for example, our whole product is digital because everything is digitalized, everything has its law. So I don't have to waste my time and put some members of my team to just check up these people and call online, offline, and yeah, listen, have you heard about that therapist? What do you think about them? Have you seen their work, or pretend to be a patient to see their work? It's a whole lot of like work that we're doing.
That's
So we decided that that part in our countries be non-technical. On the other side, all of everything is technical. Our tests are technical. They're video games that have been created based on the tests done by therapists. We have created our own game development system, so that we don't develop our games anymore. It's a matter of drag and drop and copy paste. We have the full system that digitalizes everything, from detecting the child to working between a parent and the therapist and the school. The online session tool that we have is our own development. It's not something like here we're working with online tools. It's actually an online multiplayer game between the therapist and the child, with video conference, and where the therapist is going to have the history of all the games that he's done with the child during that session, and the scores and everything with it. So everything is digital. If we're talking about the hot topic, AI, I myself use a lot of AI. It helps a lot in my work. Honestly, ChatGPT is like my new best friend. Like, you can understand, and I have a lot of documents I have to write daily,
I
and I hate writing. So when I discovered ChatGPT, it was like, ChatGPT, I need to write something about something, 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 and he writes me something that is very, very, very convincing. With a few tweaks of personalized information, then voila, you have your information. I use other tools to like automatically create me presentations or sales pitches or some stuff. So AI is good if you know how to use it. I am
absolutely.
for technology, but everything needs to be those like collaborated, and know how to work with it. In Sghartoon, for now, we don't use AI. We might, but it's not going to be for the kids. It's not going to be for the parents. It's going to be for the teachers and the therapist, to propose to them mentoring plans, therapy plans, example of exercises, like to help their work and to make it easier on the child and on the therapist, but certainly not for the child. Actually, the use of our application by a child is an average of 20 minutes once. And that's it. The app is used by the parents. It's not for the children. I'm
Neat.
not for screen time for children, honestly.
Good. Oh my God. As a mom, I'm so guilty of screen time.
Yeah,
Um,
I know.
yeah. But back to this amazing and beautiful conversation, such an inspiring conversation. Really, thank you, Hidayat. Um, this brings me to what always I want to ask every woman leader that I meet, publicly, privately, in any setting, is like, what's your vision? If you're a CEO of a company, that's amazing. I love seeing women CEOs. I love that. I see so much power coming through women being in leadership positions and having a vision. Sometimes they say, oh, women lack of strategies and visions and I don't know what, but I saw the most persistent visions coming from women. And so, what's the vision of your company? How do you see it? You said you expanded from Tunisia to France and Saudi Arabia, which is amazing. That's a success story, of course. But do you envision like adding like more products, um, adding age range, for example, the early age below 5, beyond?
Okay. I'm gonna start by a quote that I've heard and I love it. It says, "If you want something spoken about, give it to a man. If you want something done, ask a woman." So, for all those who say that women lack strategy, just ask yourselves if it wasn't your mom taking care of the money of the household and raising you and making sure that you're fed and well dressed and well sleeping, who is doing all that thinking? So that's first thing. I'm really feminist. That's the first thing. Second, for my vision, there are two big visions that we're working on, and hopefully we're going to achieve. The first step of Sghartoon is to help detect 1 million child with learning difficulties around the globe and link them with a therapist. In order to do that, there's a lot of expansions, a lot of development, a lot of hard work that is being done, and this is only our 5 years goal. Our 10-year goal actually is to expand to other difficulties. The objective is to become the number one reference place where any parent with an unborn child to a child in his 30s, he can go into Zghartoun and find any help that he needs, either if it's for psychological help or educational help or learning difficulties or Down syndrome or autism, anything you're looking for, you can find it in Sghartoun. That's our 10 years objective. And yeah, the main idea is to become the platform reference in MENA region. So we're talking about North Africa and the Gulf region. These are where we're focusing on because honestly, Europe and the US, it's the trend. South Korea, Asia, Japan, these are tycoons that we're not yet ready for, and Africa is now sub-Saharan Africa is now the trend. So everyone is focusing on it, but no one is focusing on us. No one is focusing on North Africa. No one is focusing on really problems that exist in the Gulf region, besides focusing on how they have petrol and how Dubai and Riyadh is growing fast, no one is considering the real people that are living there. And I can assure you that the problems exist everywhere. So we took it on ourselves that we are aiming for Mauritania, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Oman, Urdun, Jordan, Syria. Hopefully, they get back on their feet. Saudi Arabia, Oman, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, you name it. If a country speaks Arabic, that's where you're gonna find Khartoum.
Wow, that's amazing. Such a big goal. I was about to ask you, do you feel like you're doing an impact? I'm gonna respond instead of you. Yes, you're doing an impact, absolutely. And if
Thank
you
you.
reach that, wow, That's really interesting and important. Part of our work in digital citizenship a few years ago, we contributed in a research about the internet languages, and we saw how our languages, and I'm not speaking of Arabic only, but
Mhm.
the first language that we learn, Derja, we learn it at home, we speak it. It's a whole language in itself. It's not
Yes.
represented, and that's part of why people, they don't have, for example, data equity or access to data and access to technology.
Yeah.
Um, that's as a first. Arabic comes at next as a language that is not well represented on the internet, on softwares, on technology. And so if you're addressing this, that's very important. Wow. I'm I'm inspired. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm sick, but I'm gonna do something after this. Definitely. You inspired me so much. Um, so from the vision, let's move a little bit back to one of the very cliche questions. Um, as a woman CEO, do you face challenges working in very difficult countries regarding women?
um Unfortunately, it is a cliche question, but it's also up to date and always accurate. Um, I hate saying yes, and I hate admitting that we do face problems because of our gender and a lot of other reasons. Because for me, woman entrepreneur or man entrepreneur, we're entrepreneurs. We're always gonna face problems. It's financial problems, family that doesn't support you, administrative problems. Everyone is facing them in Tunisia, in the US, or even in North Korea, in South Korea. Everyone is facing them. The issue here is when you're a woman in an Arab country and when you're a hijabi girl,
That adds
that's
more.
kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like I hit the jackpot.
Yes.
So yeah, it is different, it is difficult, but honestly, it makes you stronger. I don't remember once saying that I quit because someone told me you're a girl, you wouldn't understand. Never. I threatened to quit a lot of times, actually, 150 times, to be honest.
Wow.
Um, yeah, but it wasn't because someone like was mean to me because I'm a woman. No, it's because I lacked experience, I lacked confidence, I lacked the knowledge that when someone tells you no about your product, it's about your product, not you. So that was the problem, but yeah, I do face problems as a woman CEO. I get a lot of we don't work with women, we don't invest in women. um I
Literally.
got, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, 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 la la exist. And I got a lot of why are you wearing that on your head? Yeah. And from fellow women, that's the most.
Is that in
Mm,
Tunis?
I got that a lot of tune in Tunis. I got the uh, I got someone once had the audacity to tell me when you remove the tissue on your head, come back and talk to me. And he
Yes.
was a highly placed person in a public entity in our country. So yeah, it happens, it exists, but like any minority in the world, you're going to face these kind of places. And honestly, I prefer to treat it as he doesn't understand why I'm wearing this, and he wasn't educated about the freedom of a person to wear whatever I want. So it's not my fault, it's his. If he's, like, say, teachable, I'll teach him. If he's not, I'll ignore him. That's it.
Sorry. Um, yeah, this sickness, it's not a good time. Um, but oh my God, the audacity. I mean, freedom of faith is a human right. It's granted in Tunisia, everywhere. This is this is bad. I saw it in different circumstances, but I would not think that you would face it as in the business sector. Um, One thing that I remembered, I forgot who said it, but it was like a commonly in a women feminist setting, and I hope you don't mind the word feminist. Um, we came up with this thing: our own existence is resistance as women in every
Yes.
in every aspect of it. We're resisting something, and
Yeah.
you add layers. As a hijabi, as an immigrant, and I'm speaking for myself, as a
Yeah.
Muslim, as an African, and you add layers. And the problem here, when we take it from the, like, in the public space, sometimes you just go in and it's like you're not seen sometimes. But in spaces like the digital space, that becomes um, a trigger for problems,
Yeah.
um, and for smearing campaigns, for hate speeches, violence, like gender-based violence online. And we've worked a lot on raising awareness about that in digital citizenship. But we always face that, I think, as women, being outspoken women. So I really salute you for everything you went through, and you're still here doing the work you're doing it. I think it's inspiring for me, and it might be, and I'm sure it will be inspiring for other young women who are trying to make their way through. Um, let's move from this, the challenges, which we all agree they always exist, and they just make us stronger, like you said, um,
Yeah.
to, as a CEO, um, how do you attract talents? How do you retain them? It's a very competitive market, like, whether we like it or not, despite of the high rate of unemployability, still a good talent is very rare. So if you find one, like the one that I have here with me, you just want to grab on that person, like, please stay with me, don't leave. And so
Yeah.
how do you do that?
Honestly, through the 7 years of entrepreneurship that I've had, we've had a lot of good people, medium people, let's say. And by the end of it all, we figured I can't keep an engineer working in Tunis. He's not going to stay. All of them are leaving. Why bother to keep them? And as a startup, having a senior engineer work costs a lot of money that in your first years you don't have. So what we've decided to do is for the tech team, I myself am an engineer. My two co-founders are engineer. So on the tech side, we really know what we're doing. So we decided to use freelancers. We have a couple of senior, really, really good engineers in different categories, and we work with them based on projects. Like we have a web developer, he's really like when you say a full stack web developer, this one is really full stack. Like I call him, I tell him, listen, I have XYZ to do. Here's your description document. It has everything from the designs of the interfaces to the buttons where they're going to go and everything in it. He sees it, he comes back to me, he says, listen, this is going to take me 5 working days. Okay, how much? This much? Okay, go ahead. In 5 days' time, I have my work. So I don't bother to hire engineers anymore, honestly. It's not worth it. It's not worth the work, and I'm not going to have the same ability to have him on full time when some foreign company is going to offer him 10 times the salary that I'm offering, and he's going to work from home. This is for the tech team. For the sales team, the marketing team, and the design team, actually we became a family project. So let me help you understand that. My co-founder who's in charge of operations is my husband. My co-founder who is in charge of technical parts is our ex-university teacher. My lead business developer is my cousin. My lead marketing community manager slash marketing marketer is my sister. Uh, yeah. Our lead designer is my husband's cousin. And then we just recently added, who did we add? No, we added no one. The two people that we added are consultants that work with us based on projects also.
That's interesting. You found a solution. It's like shifting it into a family business. Sometimes it's challenging to work in family
It is.
because
It
there's a
is. It
thin
is.
line between when you are really like you are the CEO, you have things to be done, and
Yeah.
then oh, actually, that's your husband on the other side that you wanna like, or that's your
Yeah.
sister. That's very, very tricky. You have to
Yeah.
be very strong to make that distinction.
I had to go through a lot of phases, honestly. I wasn't this strong when I started. So yeah, we had to go through a lot. Yani, and I've known my husband for 8 years before we got married. So I really know him, and the good thing is he is in so many ways better than me in doing this. I'm only the face outside, but he's been really the reason behind me getting this strong, because he's always been there like pushing me forward. So this is a first thing. Second, our other co-founder Walid, he's like a dad to us. So he brought in the experience. He brought in the age experience when you don't like get angry really fast, or you don't like have anxiety over some stupid thing that you're not going to control. And then we started the first time hiring my sister, but it didn't go through because she's my younger sister. And like my mom and dad got in the way, so it wasn't good. But then we've invested in my cousin. She started with us when she was still a student at the university, so we taught her everything. We had the time to help her understand where we want to be. So she found herself each year doing her internship with us, and by the end, she was hired. She knows very good the job that we're doing, and actually, she had to have like a few weeks off. I felt like everything was crumbling without her. Like she's really, really good in what she's doing. And then his cousin also started with us when he was still studying. So he started as the post designer, updated to a UI UX designer, updated to a game designer, and now he's a game developer. So he
Wow.
had a lot of steps with us. And actually, now my sister, we're doing the same thing with her. She's still studying. She's in part time, and we're investing in her. Like this is the strategy that we're building. We want to invest in people that are going to invest in us. So we invested in them, and we're starting to see the fruit of that.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
That's a nice way of addressing a problem. Like talents is a big problem, and especially after COVID, ugh, things changed a lot, and the workforce changed.
Yes.
what's required, like lots of things changed and we have to readapt ourselves,
Yeah,
and in a way that's so good. Like it emphasized and normalized the way that we can have this interview online, that's fine, um,
exactly.
in different ways. It's hard to retain people because they see the opportunity of doing freelancing, but the most important, I think, the loyalty. So like you said, you invest in someone who is willing to invest in your company, and pay you back by working for that and believing in what you believe in.
Yeah.
um, so we still have a couple of things to go through, but generally speaking, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs?
Hmm. There's always one thing that I always say to any and every entrepreneur that I mentor. Leave your ego outside. An entrepreneur's ego is his worst nightmare. You would fall in love with your product, never accept criticism, never be open to understanding why other people told you no, and it would lead you into really, really dark place. And I understood that the really hard way. So that's the first thing that I would say. Second, it might seem negative for me to say this, but it's the truth. Never, ever go into an entrepreneurial experience with the hopes that you become millionaire with your Lamborghini from your first years. That's not gonna happen.
That's a very good
Entrep-
advice.
Entrepreneurs only became really successful after I think their seventh, eighth, or maybe even 10th year. So never even think that you're gonna have like a salary in your first year. You're not. But on the other side, always make sure that you are really good, you have a really good ecosystem. You have people that believe in you, people that push you forward, people that understands that you're depressed or just sad from your eyes or from the way you're talking. Because, and it's a known fact, entrepreneurship is a lonely road. Even if you have co-founders, even if you have an amazing team, it's a lonely road. You're gonna feel yourself alone a lot of the times. So find yourself that cocoon that is going to hold you and make you stronger with each bump that you see along the road, because you're gonna see a lot of them. And always be grateful. Always, always, always be grateful for the people that help you, for the people that supported you with an advice, with money, with a tool, with an idea, or with a reference. Because what you gain from this experience is the people that you know. Because you might succeed in your first adventure, maybe yes, maybe no, no one knows, but you're gonna win the people that you know, and maybe with them you're gonna start a new business that is going to be like the new Google or the new Facebook. So always be grateful, always have a cocoon that helps you leave your ego outside and believe in yourself.
That's amazing. That's really good. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, I was listening. I love listening to podcasts. So I was listening to this entrepreneur, a black woman entrepreneur in the US, and she's such a determined person. Um, I'll send you that later on, and maybe I'll put it in the comments underneath this episode. But she was talking about pretty much the same thing. Um, Passion only is not gonna make you make money, or actually resist this word of entrepreneurship and the hardship of it. So have a mentor, a supporting system, like at home, who is supporting you. to fulfill the other duties that take from your mind, the space in your mind, from work, the advisors, having really good advisors, um, and don't take things personally. Absolutely. Gratitude is a very important thing that you mentioned. It helps in our everyday life, but also it's very important because when you pay tribute to the people who gave you, you're given back. Mm. That brings me to the last thing that we want to know about, and maybe by this time everybody wants to know more about you as a person. So we decided to play this, the Chinese profile, to know who is Hidayet. Um,
Okay.
so the first question for this Chinese profile would be, if you were an animal, you would be a lion, a cat, a dog, a bird, or a fish.
A lion.
Whoa. So the explanation for that choice is courageous, proud, and protective. Is that you?
Yes. Yes.
Nice. If you were a color, would you be red, blue, green, yellow, or purple?
Green.
Green. That's growth, harmony, nature. That's nice. You're very determined. I like that. If you
Thanks.
were an element, you would be fire, water, earth, or air.
Earth.
Earth. Solid and reliable and stable. Good things. You're picking good things.
It's my
Um,
first time to do this test actually. So
really?
yeah, like when you were saying the colors, I was like black, black, black because I love black.
No, I should have added more colors, but being mindful of time, I picked
Yeah.
few items. If you were a country, would you be France, Italy, the US, China, or Japan?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. Japan.
Peaceful, respectful, and harmonious. I love Japan.
I love them too.
If you were a season, would you be spring, summer, autumn, or winter?
Winter always.
Wow. Calm, introspection, and rebirth. That's interesting. That's interesting. That gives us an idea about your personality. But I see a lot of these in you just from
Thank
speaking and sharing this experience.
you.
Hidayet, we're so grateful for you to be with us today.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for giving us your time and your knowledge and expertise and experience and for speaking from the bottom of your heart. We're so grateful. Um, we wanted to how can I say it? We wanted to award in our own way people that we think they're contributing to digital citizenship in Tunisia, um, by different means, by different ways. And so, following this interview, we will be sending over a certificate of recognition of you as a good citizen, digital citizen, and your company as well. We really love this small journey with you today, and we're looking forward to welcoming you another time with more milestones achieved. Um, Without further ado, everybody, we thank you for tuning in and listening to us and listening
Thank
to
you very
Hidayet
much.
and her inspiring story. I'll give you the last word, Hidayet. Up to you.
Thank you very much. Again, it was a pleasure. I really enjoyed this talk. I hope that I would help encourage and inspire some women around the world to really like move forward and start their own businesses and be their own masters. Anyone, if they have any question about anything, I'm always available. They can like reach out and I wouldn't have any problem to help. Again, it was really, really nice to meet you guys and to talk to you. I wish you all the best of luck with what you're doing. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you and see you soon, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you so